happens, it would be by losing a bunch of close games. I don't think this is going to be a team that is going to be outclassed. I don't think this is a team that's going to be outrun, specifically. I don't think this is a team that's going to be outcoached. I think what we have here when you're talking about LSU 2026 is really something that could be, when fully healthy. You get Sam Levitt in there. He is fully healthy now. We know that they're just kind of using the kid gloves. It was spring. They don't want to get him injured in spring, of course, but seeing him in full flight, okay, this offense already looks good with these two backups. Imagine with Sam Levitt, a dual threat quarterback in full flight with this just wear down the defense at every turn offense. That's one of the things, as far as really thoughts, the pedal to the metal offense that we saw in 2019 that even sometimes wore out our own defense. Especially look at that Ole Miss game, like how fast the scoring drives were. The defense is like, we just barely breathe, Joe. What are you doing? Like, now we have to go out there again. Like, oh man, like, just, it was crazy how many plays they did. Not only how many drives they had to go out there, not only just because of the maybe the opponent's defense getting stops or whatever, which didn't really happen. It was just how fast LSU's offense scored that they were going out there. It was outrageous. But you're seeing that high speed, high octane offense once again for LSU. And it is a beautiful thing to witness. They are getting so many plays in. When you watch the Brian Kelly, offensive progression, whether it was Mike Denbrock or Joe Sloan, either one, I went back and I watched the film, okay? My own film even, because I was at some of these practices and I'm watching them and I'm like, when Jaden's at quarterback, they do look faster and stuff like that. But outside of that, when Jaden is not at quarterback, those Brian Kelly era practices, all the way up through the Nuss era, all that, they look in like slow motion. They look like the guys are moving with concrete around their legs, like in comparison to what we're seeing with this Kiffin regime, where everything is speed, 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 speed. And you know what? Why our offense that knew they had a shitty offensive line. We talked about it all offseason last year. We knew the offensive line was not going to be good. We knew it. And so Brian Kelly saying, "Oh, I've been doing this 40 years. I think I know great offensive line when I see one, we're going to be great." And it was like, no, they were absolutely diabolical. Maybe the worst offensive line in modern history for the LSU Tigers, and tripping over each other when they're trying to pull, just embarrassing concepts that went nowhere. Guys blocking ghosts while sacks were happening. Just an injured quarterback that not only happened on their watch during camp, but then happened on their watch during the season. Just craziness. But you knew that was going to happen with losing 4 or 5 starters. Why they didn't run up-tempo stuff to get the matchups, to get the defense maybe off balance a bit, to maybe get the defense wore down. And here's why. The conditioning to even run that type of offense mid-season, to switch to that, wasn't even there. And what's great about Kiffin being hired was immediately he brings in a strength and conditioning training team that understands what this team is going to have to do physically during camp, during the mid-season to middle of the season, to that November, December, even January grind that you want to be able to be a part of. You got to be conditioned better than anybody if you're going to run this type of stuff. Because like if you're okay, we're going to wear down the defense. Well, are you going to wear down yourself while doing this? Like, you have to be to that physical level. And so you have seen throughout camp, it wasn't their first few practices. And that's how it should be, right? It would have been kind of like, whoa, this is almost too easy if it was already there. But the conditioning to run that high speed, boom, boom, boom offense wasn't really there. We didn't see too much film of it either. But what film we did see, it was like, okay, they're still rusty and kind of going through the install of this high speed up tempo offense. Whether that's Houston Longstreet, whether that's Sam Levitt in 7v7, they were more relaxed at the start of the at the camp, and then they kind of grew into adding more intensity, which is I think all part of the design to avoid injuries, and that's number one thing you want as a staff at this point. Just avoid the damn injuries. Keep my options afloat, you know. And what you have seen as the spring practices have continued is, man, this has been really interesting to watch. I mean, guys like Weston Davis starting at right tackle, already a surprise, but seeing him be able to physically keep up with the speed of this, I mean, crazy. Jordan Seaton looks like a ballerina on his feet, just, you know, Gregory Hines doing a tap dance routine. I mean, just incredible how his feet move, and these battles he would have on the wing with Prince Will, Malin, just incredible, just insane, just prime time viewing, right? And so you're looking at how they're able to do this conditioning wise. Maybe I'm not I shouldn't say this because we just don't know yet because they haven't played the games, but if they're able to do this, right? If they're able to play this style of football throughout the season, this pedal to the metal, this is them kind of more relaxed during practices, so this practice footage doesn't quite capture it, but if they're able to run this, I mean, dare I say it, they're the most conditioned LSU Tigers team since that 2019 squad, conditioned by Tommy Moffitt. But I'm not so sure how they were. I need to go back and study that, research that. But if they were preparing that 2019 squad for a, you know, hey, we're going to be really fast-paced offensively this season. You better buckle up on defense. You better buckle up on special teams. Like, everybody get ready for, we're going to play a lot of plays. We're going to score a lot of points. We're going to need you out there a lot more defense. You know, all this stuff. Were they conditioned? Were they prepared for that? Because there were a lot of injuries to that 2019 team. That 2019 team, thank God, was really deep. But there was a lot of guys also playing through injury. Grant Delpit, for one, Rashard Lawrence definitely playing. Both those guys, key starters on that 2019 defense, who were playing completely screwed up most of that season. And so you need your team to be conditioned. You need your team to be deep to be able to play this type of style of offensive attack. And I think Kiffin can also balance that with what we got in the running game. And I like that balance. I like what we got from a rushing attack style, but what you see from your offensive line may be the only way to get those big gaps, those explosive plays we've seen through camp for the running backs, is to run this like up tempo, run up to the line, quickly call a quick draw play, a quick off tackle play, something like that, and get this team in rhythm after you already get like a 5-6 yard catch to start the drive, and then a 4-yard, 5-yard run, get the first down. You're up to the line again, you know, throw a 10-yard slant, and then you quick up to the line again, and then this is where you gash them and get like these type of chess moves. You can also, like, okay, we're gonna run basically up to the line, and then we're blocking the whole rest of that play because we're gonna be running the football. So it is kind of like you can manage the rep onslaught upon your team physically by doing stuff like that and by running the football no matter what. That's always going to help with the clock. It's always going to help your defense, buy them more time on the sidelines. But I think Lane Kiffin needs to really look into that and maximize the control that he will have in these games. Maximize the control that he'll have upon proceedings where you want to absolutely dominate the game running the football. You actually want to really run that clock because let's face it, the absolute demand of playing 80 plays, 88 plays a game. Yeah, we went into this like just 2 shows ago. How many plays in the Kiffin era that offense demanded of LSU's defense back then, and it was like, holy shit, like 88, 90 plays. It's crazy. Um, we're really going to need to be we're really going to need to protect our squad like from injuries. Like holy shit, like we've already started to see a few injuries start to creep up, and that's not good. And we got to be careful here. We got to manage the rep load. We got to rotate the guys the right way in certain respects, certain positions, and hopefully these guys understand that the demands. Oh, did Mother Shed just catch that? Hopefully, no, just barely passed his reach. Hopefully they're kind of understanding the pedal to the metal is fantastic. We kind of need to bleed this team into it and kind of be able to switch gears and slow the pace down offensively, control the clock, especially if you're having success running the football. You're running up tempo, a quick passing play, and then you do a quick draw or something. You get 15 yards, big busted play. And then, you know what? Maybe instead of running up to the line, maybe run up to the line and then everyone chills for like 35 seconds or 32 seconds, whatever it is, however much time is left. And then you call another running play. You keep the clock moving. You got a 7-10 point lead, late the third quarter. Like those are the type of moments where control with this team, with this defense, as we're going to get into later, I think could really maximize LSU being able to win in these close games, being able to pull out some of these more difficult adventures on our schedule. Another spring thought for me. I mean, Trey'Dez Green, he's an aerial assassin. He's an absolute, just dynamic, special player. And you've seen in this spring, he has 11 LSU touchdowns, right? 11 LSU touchdowns, all 11 of them inside the red zone. Now, what is really brilliant here is that you've seen, okay, you could just use him as like a red zone specialist, and he'd still catch maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns a game in the Kiffin offense, maybe. But you've seen them explore kind of more what is fully possible with Trey'Dez Green in a very creative way. Very, very cool seeing him actually motioned around the formation, used as a decoy in certain respects, dragging safeties out of position, opening up the bomb downfield for his teammates. But then, obviously what he can do himself catching the football. And you've seen him doing this contested catches downfield, not just little dink and dunk plays and then catching it in the red zone, but you're starting to see him run the deep, shallow, slants, these running these mesh concepts over the middle as well. You're seeing him actually not just run the fades, but starting to run posts, even deep posts with Trey'Dez Green, where he's catching that football against really tight coverage and a safety coming over the top, and then actually making plays after the catch. You're seeing him used in a variety of ways where it's like, I think, thank God, Lane Kiffin, he understands what type of talent he is, because when Kiffin joined the staff, joined the program, I should say, led this staff, one of his first press conferences, I remember he said that there were 4 truly elite players on the team, and Trey'Dez Green was one of those 4 that he listed. And you can see why. And if there's anyone who can really maximize a talent like Trey'Dez Green, it's going to be Kiffin. It's going to be Charlie Weiss Jr. It's going to be all of these pieces in the coaching department, play calling wise, who are going to really ramping up for Trey'Dez Green. And when you're talking about an offense that could be pedal to the metal as well, an offense that could be looking for mismatches everywhere. It was absurd when you went back and watched the film last season how many times there was ignored mismatches when it came to Trey'Dez Green. Plays that just, how did you not see this? How is this not an obvious place to go with the football for any of the quarterbacks that played? It was like just scandalous. And you know what? The play design was set up so that you almost would miss Trey'Dez Green through your progressions, because he was just, the whole thing is just a mess. But nonetheless, mismatches everywhere with this guy. And luckily, this offensive setup, they're looking for the mismatches and they're finding them, baby. And that's the thing. How many touchdowns can he catch this season? I've seen a few notable LSU media guys predicting that he's going to, lead the team in yards and touchdowns and stuff like that. So I tend to look at what he has been able to do, and you're, oh, man, I think it goes one of two ways. Either there's too much of the football to share, and Trey'Dez Green is still favored highly, but not fed continuously as much as we or some people maybe expect, or he just goes completely off. And like Lane Kiffin understands this is a generational talent. Feed him, feed him, feed him, feed him, feed him. Rising offensive line play for LSU. Okay, this is we'll get Trey'Dez Green off the screen so we avoid some type of confusion there. Rising O lineman for me, Alu Ba at right guard. What a camp he's had. And he's someone who, coming from Maryland, already has so much experience. Only allowed 2 sacks in the last 2 years and only 2 quarterback hits. And 0 sacks allowed, just 2 quarterback hits allowed last season. Just a dynamic, athletic, dominating presence there at right guard, who has really made Weston Davis look good in a lot of respects, and is kind of combo blocked over there, dragged him along, and maybe they have some type of chemistry in some way. Maybe that's something that is for real, Weston Davis and Alu Ba, but he's someone that I think you really need to keep an eye on. Weston Davis, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to think. We have to see him actually blocking in games. We actually have to see him maintain that starting right tackle position throughout fall camp as well, which is, I think, a time when maybe Darren Stray gets a shot at the position. Eric Walford is his former O-line coach from Kentucky, and Darren Stray's been second or third team right guard and right tackle here or there, mostly a guard. I don't know what's going on there. Darren Stray, a lot of the times, was hanging around Jordan Seaton, and you're kind of thinking, oh, yeah, he's going to be the right tackle. And it was a shock that it was going to be Weston Davis. Boom. So, we've seen some things like that happen. Maybe Darren Stray has a shot, but Weston Davis looks to be like he's got that starting right tackle job. He held on to it through 98% of spring, it looked like. And maybe, the second the media left, or the second the full practice, all right, start the second practice and move Weston. They don't have that much time. They don't even have that much time with the players to be able to do a scheme like that where they could run 2 practices back to back. And no, no. But I'm really interested by Bo Bordelon. Bo Bordelon, overlooked for the last few years, was a very junior member of those kind of hailed offensive lines of the Jaden Daniels era and the Garrett Nussmeier era with Will Campbell and Emory Jones, Garrett Dellinger, all those guys, Charles Turner. Bo Bordelon was kind of like the swing man on the bench who just never got in. DJ, what's his name? God, what's that? What's the name of that awful? People were saying he was an awful center. He's awful this, and I tend to agree. Oh, for LSU last year, I can't remember his name right now. His name is escaping me. He's like a center and a guard. Oh my God, his name is killing me right now. When Braylon Moore went down, he was the DJ Chester. DJ Chester. When God, it's just LSU retooled the offensive line completely this year, but it feels different in comparison to these other seasons where LSU lost 4 of 5 starters going into last year, and it felt like it was a complete shit show. You replaced a lot of those guys with dudes who have absolute pedigree, but Bo Bordelon coming in there and stealing a spot from Devin Harper, from William Satterwhite, who could also have been in contention for this job at left guard. That's a big role next to Jordan Seaton there at left tackle. You got to have someone reliable that Seaton doesn't have to cheat inside to try and help, which was kind of Will Campbell's undoing as a junior at LSU, was kind of the offensive line play on the inside because it would make him draw his attention, trusting his talents were omnipotent and someone who was really good would beat him. You don't want to see those type of outcomes, and so you want to see someone who's reliable over everything, someone who's going to fight at that left guard position and then at that right tackle spot, because you've got really good players in those other 3 spots. At center, Braylon Moore, of course, that we know. Right guard, I love what we've seen from Aluba. Very experienced as well. Hasn't played in the SEC, sure, but that didn't affect Braylon Moore. I don't think it'll affect Jordan Seaton, who's also coming in the SEC for the first time from Colorado. Experience is experience, and these guys have mountains of experience offensive line play. The physicality of the SEC might maybe take them by surprise for a second, but I think they've already been accustomed to that throughout spring camp. Now the question is, how do you trust youth at left guard, at right tackle? Someone completely inexperienced. I mean, Weston Davis he can at least say, as terrible as the season was, that he started for LSU at right tackle. He can at least say that he has that experience over a lot of other guys like Darren Stray, only 4 games as a redshirt freshman. There's a ton of offensive line talent on this team. Devin Harper, there's a lot of these guys who haven't played at all that we've brought on board. William Satterwhite, they've barely played. And so a guy like Weston Davis, does his experience take him over other people, even if his experience is, experiencing getting his ass kicked? Because it still might make him wily enough. I know that Kiffin admired that he stayed while so many of the other guys left. But how much is that going to really? How much is Weston Davis going to be someone you can count on in November, in December, in January? Is that possible when we have only seen implosion after implosion, specifically during these crucial games? These big time moments against A&M, against Alabama. where every time we're getting absolutely throttled up front, bullied up front in the trenches. And here's the thing: it's okay if you have maybe one weak link on the offensive line, but you can't have multiple. And if you have multiple that these three guys are trying to worry about, I mean, that might just be what you're gonna have to deal with this season, because I don't think it's going to be necessarily carrying around a passenger, but definitely guys who are going to be targeted more than say, hey, we're going to try and pass rush Jordan Seaton every play. That might waste your energy half the game when, hey, we could have you stunt inside and go right at this inexperienced left guard who's only played like 2 games of real action, and it was for like 5 snaps. So LSU offensive line play, you've seen a lot of rising offensive line. You've seen some depth there that maybe wasn't, shining bright to your eye. Like a guy like Bryson Martinez has really come on in the last few weeks, as well as someone that's like, that's a guy who could also steal a starting spot too, because he's just absolutely physical. So I'm seeing a better offensive line than we've seen before. But also those mismatches, those explosive plays they've set up in the running game have been greatly helped and assisted by this up-tempo offense. If need be, can they line up toe-to-toe against an SEC opponent on the 1-yard line and run it in? I know that sounds so simple, but it's so crucial to why LSU has lost games over the last few years. It's why Brian Kelly was fired. LSU could not, from the inch line, could not, from the inch line with a top 5 pick at left tackle, run the football into that end zone. We could never do it from the red zone with all this talent on offensive line. And now maybe you have more than just talent. You have guys who are reliable, potentially, guys who are experienced, and very under the radar, really. Kevin Smith's running back room. Okay, guys. Okay, we'll get the Weston Davis photo off. Don't worry. Oh, it's Matt Moscona. Where's that photo? Anyway, Kevin Smith's running back room, guys, way more. Here we go. Way deeper, I think, than many were expecting. Way more talented and multidimensional than people were expecting, because I don't think people are paying attention to guys like Dylan Jones, who, coming from Wisconsin, people kind of like, okay. And then LSU get Rashawn Guillory Jr., who looks pretty damn good. And then a guy like Stacey Gage, who really looks explosive out of the backfield to me. Violent runner, but just lightning fast legs. And actually, I think as I spoke, that was, oh no, Stacey Gage is 23. So that was Rashawn Guillory Jr. Malik Elzy with a catch there, number 88. This is a running back room that is really, you still have Caden Durham and Harlem Berry as well. You've got every profile that you need to run the football adequately. If this running back room can't sustain a running game worth shit, man, it'll be like almost like a curse, because they've had so much success. Kwan Lacey put up such unreal numbers. 20 rushing touchdowns, I believe, in the SEC, something like that. Kevin Smith's been proven to be a fantastic running backs coach. If they can't find some type of formula here to generate LSU to run the football within the top 50, that would make zero sense. Because here's the thing: Kiffin has never had a rushing attack that has ranked outside the top 40. We have said this multiple times. And if you look at Lane Kiffin's career, just top running backs everywhere you look. And so strong running back development, strong running back involvement in the plays where not just as a rusher, as a receiver out of the backfield, and then you're also able to show what you can do as a pass protector. You have to be able to cover all those dimensions in a Lane Kiffin offense. And unless you have a few guys who can do that. I think Dylan Jones might be your starter week 1. I Harlem Berry, Caden Durham at their best. We've seen what Caden Durham can do, man. He can be an absolute superstar. There's a reason he was like a Maxwell Award watch list player. But Dylan Jones just looks hungrier. He looks angrier. He looks like I'm going to come take this. This is my job to come take. There's something about him there's a presence. And I think Lane Kiffin can feel it too when he really sung Dylan Jones's praises and basically said like this dude is absolutely going to wreck for us this season. Just was, I can't remember exactly how Kiffin said it, but Kiffin was very hyped about Dylan Jones being on his football team. We'll just say that. So you have him, and even if he's marginally successful, Dylan Jones, okay? Then you add Harlem Berry with his speed and agility mix, Caden Durham with his extraterrestrial speed potential, and what he can do making moves after the catch, when he sees that cut, that wide open hole, makes that cut, his absolute dual threat brilliance, where we've seen him take it from a receiving in the receiving game like 70 yards to the house. Then we've seen Caden Durham take it 90 something yards to the house in the rushing game. We have seen everything, the full encompassing measurables of what Caden Durham's greatness could look like. And actually, it can be even better. He's got to survive the injuries. He's got to get past that. He's got to find another level to stay on the field past guys like Dylan Jones, Rashawn Guillory Jr., Stacey Gage, these type of figures, right? But the competition can only make him better. The competition can only make him hungrier. There is finally strong running back competition here. And here's the thing. If this doesn't manifest into a strong rushing attack or even a good rushing game, something like that, I'll literally be stunned and just be like, we're cursed at rushing the football, because once again, new coach, a lot of new players, new look to everything. Like, this is still the same old LSU. You still got a bunch of returning guys who are stellar, who are like the cream of the crop from this last previous era. You've got this mix of veterans and youth. There's a lot of this looks so good on paper, but once again, we all know how cannibalistic the SEC is. We all know how insane our schedule looks, and we know what failure looks like when we look at the offensive line and the running game from last year. And so I just talked about offensive line and running game, two huge components of LSU being able to run that pedal to the metal offense, two huge components of a guy like Sam Levitt taking lift off. It's you have a dual threat quarterback because they love that in the offense, but it's going to come in handy because there's going to be plays where this offensive line, I think, has moments where they're struggling. And so you're going to need a guy who can escape. Everybody, is this a top 10 defense in 2026? for LSU. A top 10 defense in 2026. Last year, overall, it was not a great defense because you had these horrific games. Vanderbilt, LSU Dan's going to absolutely go crazy just being reminded about this. But Diego Pavia went crazy on us with Vanderbilt of all. You've had these absolute diabolical second halves, first halves, these huge just busts where you're just destroyed by these running quarterback offenses. And it continued from Matt House under Blake Baker. It's been something that LSU has dealt with for the last few years. And now, can you turn the tables? Can you figure it out? Can you stop the rushing quarterbacks? Well, guess what? When you're not practicing against one, it doesn't matter how much you scheme it up and how much you coach it up, which sometimes that wasn't even being done. It's going to make you better because now you're actually practicing against a quarterback of that speed, of that ilk. You're not practicing against Sam Levitt, but Houston Longstreet and Landon Clark both have adequate enough speed to run these RPO plays where it's like, this is going to make our defense so much better this year, I think, against rushing quarterbacks because you're actually practicing against it. We're actually seeing it. We did not see this. I watched so much film, it's a joke. I watch so much film, it makes me want to throw up just thinking about it. I love doing it, but I mean, so much film. We did not see this much RPO, not even close, or anyone who could really adequately run it. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier running RPO stuff, also on a hurt knee during fall camp. They just were not running that stuff. They just were not. And if they were, it was like a fake RPO and then like a pass. They're not running these fake RPO quarterback keepers. Like we're seeing Houston Longstreet running, Landon Clark running, ad nauseum. We're seeing that like crazy. Sam Levitt doing it like crazy in 77, very limited with his ankle. Still, they were trying to get him to recover. He's now 100%, it appears, Lane Kiffin said. Lane Kiffin basically inferred that, but didn't confirm it 100%. But so you have at least been practicing against this, and you're going to more in fall camp, especially when, Sam Levitt's going to be fully healthy, fully operational. They're still going to be careful with him, but I think just being able to practice against, even if you can't touch him, even if you kind of let him get 10-yard plays on you and you kind of run over there and shove him, Sam Levitt's speed is going to kind of, if he has it pretty quick, coming back from that injury, I think it's going to make some of these defensive players go, okay, clock that. That's what we need to adjust to in game when they're running right at us. This is what we need to adjust to. That will decide whether LSU is a top 10 defense in 2026. And frankly, that's what will decide if LSU go on a college football playoff run or maybe even make the playoff. Is this defense? They have everything to be great. You're looking at Whit Weeks coming back for another season, like the modern linebacker, but with old school ethos, like the perfect combination of what you want as a leader, as a player for you. TJ Daughtery, Davon Keys, both these guys are 1 and 2 in the SEC in tackles. And then all three of them are in the top 5 of guys who had the most tackles over the last few years in the SEC. You have all three of these guys on your team. There's Kiffin and Daughtery together at Ole Miss. And I mean, you are stacked, stacked at a position like linebacker. Safety, when you're talking about Ty Benefield and the type of player this guy could be, maybe he could be drafted even higher than a guy like AJ Halsey. AJ Halsey had an incredible year last season coming over from Houston. I think Ty Benefield can even go better than him with this season. He looks supremely talented, supremely gifted. And you don't want to compare the two or put too much pressure on Benefield as like, hey, you must be an All-American or you're trash, because that's just not true. We really, in this defense, just need safeties who can stay home and stay alive and read the plays and react. Because there's so many other moving parts, and then at other times you're blitzing maybe with Baker. Other times maybe you're coming down in coverage. But usually that's going to be the role of the star. It just depends. I guess if you're going to blitz the star, maybe you have the safety come down and pick up that guy. But mostly you have those two safeties to be kind of more conservative in a way so that you can have the other parts moving. You can be able to be flexible and blitz this guy here, blitz that guy there, have the star drop into this or drop into that. Well, you have enough versatility and brilliance around this defense, in my opinion, to really have something special here. Tamarcus Cooley coming in for his second year with LSU. Pickett and Woodland entering, this is Woodland's year 3, and he's been playing a lot of football, tested a lot over the last few years. And then DJ Pickett, this is year 2 after a very damn good freshman All-American. Fantastic debut campaign. This defense is loaded everywhere, but one thing that was very interesting was, Lane Kiffin said that the cornerback depth was a worry. That the depth at corner was a big worry for them. And he even said if the portal he okay. He said this without saying it, okay? I know we have Tamarcus Cooley's photo up. I know he's not a corner. I'll find a photo of an actual corner. But yeah, Lane Kiffin was saying that if there's a portal, post spring portal, they would go and pursue a corner because Jakeem Jackson, he didn't really stand up at corner, backing these guys up. Aiden Anding was standing up and was looking like that was going to be your guy, your third guy you could bet on at corner. 2 picks. As soon as he gets the second pick, he tears his Achilles. And the way Kiffin talked about Aiden Anding, you had a feeling that, man, that was a guy they had a lot of love for and felt like, his response from getting mossed by Jabari Mack on a clip that goes all over the world, ESPN Sports Center showing it. Everyone goes, this is why it's wide receiver all that stuff, and he basically has to deal with that shit. And what does he do but get like 5 interceptions in the next few practices, including 2 in the scrimmage. And on that second pick in the scrimmage, he tears his Achilles on the return. Just terrible. And so there wasn't anyone who really stood up in behind and answered the call. So that is a position where outside of DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland, you really don't have much to speak of as throw, at least to hold your hat, at least to be able to maybe get you out of a tough quarter or something when somebody has a messed up hand, they have to get it fit, messed with or whatever, and they get back in there. But like during the interim plays, do you allow a touchdown? Do you get cooked for a big touchdown, or do you hold firm and maybe get a pass breakup or force an incompletion? Because they're going to target you, and do you help the team in that situation? That's really a guy that we're looking for, and there's just no options. There's really just it is a very admittedly bone thin spot, and that's what I wanted to say was start talking about the defenses. Like, this is such a good defense. There's so many good things about this defense. There's a few depth concerns, cornerback and then defensive tackle. Defensive tackle as well as the cornerback spot, where it's like, I love what I'm looking at from Steffel Green. I love what I'm looking at from Malik Blockton. I love what I'm looking at from Dominic McKinley. I love what I'm looking at from Big Rich Anderson, Deuce Gerald's. So there's 5 guys right there. But you almost you okay, I'm not going to bet against any of those guys hitting. I'm not saying that. But in another way, if you think you need all these guys to really hit, and some of these guys outside of Malik Blockton and Dominic McKinley haven't played in the SEC before, whether they're transfers or freshmen. And I'm not gonna bet against a guy like Big Rich Anderson's physicality or Deuce Gerald's trench Nostradamus prowess to absolutely just motor through people. But you really need a lot of things to hit there at defensive tackle to be successful this season. Not only for the first few games, but for the entire year. Can you generate it with those 5 guys? Maybe I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, Sean Washington is also on the team. That's a 6th, but I'm just, it's a spot where despite who you have, I just feel like you really, and they were looking for him, but you got to have someone step up in a superstar role. You got to have Dominic McKinley become the Tiger he's always meant to be, and then you got to have Big Rich Anderson just be that freshman All-American at defensive tackle. You got to have those two really firing on all cylinders. And then, Steffel Green, Malik Blockton, you got to have those guys be able to contribute. They've got to be able to get, maybe 2.5 sacks, a couple TFLs, a couple, batted passes at the line. And then one or two of the guys has a couple forced turnovers. You've got to have those type of stats from these guys. You got to have this type of, front blockage from these guys where they're just completely clogging and block everything in their, these protections, just disrupting everything, destroying, dismantling every protection. Like, a condom prepared by Amber Heard, just completely poking holes through that thing, LSU's special teams, is it a concern? I have to say Scott Starzik has a great leg, but his accuracy, it's just outside of 40 yards, it hasn't been there. He really is a highly lauded kicker, Scott Starzik, but his range is something that he's going to have to figure out as the years go on, because it's not here yet. Hopefully he can find it as the year goes on, potentially, but I think there's going to be some misses with Starzik. I think he's a good pickup. I think he's a fantastic project for the future. I just really wish LSU would have kept a few pieces that left, like Aaron Burrell. I think you really needed someone who just has a fiery cannon of a boomstick with in the kicking game. And Scott Starzik, I think, is going to end up to be a fantastic kicker. Is he right now? I'm not so sure. There are some special teams concerns where you're wanting LSU to be able to just not let special teams screw it up, because either one of these sides of the ball could be so entertaining and so fun to watch, but then also so thoroughly dominant. You could have a really interesting team here, to the point that you just do not want special teams to screw this up. You want to be able to watch your offense drive after drive after drive. You want to be able to watch that defense go out there trying to make plays. And so you want special teams to be able to just hold serve, be able to fulfill their role, and execute. When we need you for field goals, you have to bury these things. We'll get you as close as humanly possible, but you cannot be choking on us. And that's the thing, is I don't think a Kiffin offense is going to be forcing too many 50-yard field goal tries. Anything, it's going to be, maybe from 35, 38, other than that, they're going for it in those type of things, in those situations. But you've got to answer the call, Starzik. You've got to answer the call, my man. And that's the thing, is this squad might be just different. There is a vibe about this team that is just different, where there's an edge to this team. I'm not going to say that this team is going to win a national championship. I'm not there with making my predictions just yet. But if this team, at least on paper, looking at everything, everyone available, all the staffers, every metric, the schedule, how it works out for LSU, how it doesn't, all those measures still, and I'm looking at all the other teams that we're playing, the matchups, how LSU doesn't at least win 10 regular season games, make the playoffs, go on a run. If they can't do that, even in year one, it would be shocking. And I think the only way that wouldn't happen is if LSU just lose a few too many close games. We lose 3-4 close games, something like that. I think there's going to be a lot of close games. I think there's going to be a lot of tightrope dancing and a lot of really crazy games full of hijinks, full of entertaining football, full of cataclysmic footballing endeavor. I think Lane Kiffin is going to entertain. I think he is going to deliver on that value, but I think he's also going to show LSU fans the brand of football offensively that we've wanted for a long time. We were so drunk on the power of that offense in 2019 that it sustained us for a few years of delusion. Jake Peets is going to be so great. 2021, we're going to do this. Yeah, 2020 was an aberration because of COVID. Oh, it doesn't matter. Man, the lunacy juice from that 2019 season, the intoxicating factors. So when I think LSU fans witness this offense, I think even LSU fans are going to be like, "Oh, shit!" Like, this is. I think even if they can get everything together, put all the pieces together, in any way, shape, or form, organize themselves, even the average way that they were at Ole Miss, this LSU offense will reach juggernaut levels. But if this group together, all of them come from Ole Miss, where you got Kiffin at the head of the snake, as Ole Miss fans would say, he's the head of the snake, get him. Ole Miss fans hate Kiffin so much. He loves it. It's funny. You got Kiffin, then Weiss Jr., you got Joe Cox, you got George McDonald, the receivers coach. Kind of this axis of four guys. Kevin Smith at running backs. There's some potential for maximum fireworks. There's potential for this team to be dominant, to be entertaining, to be savage, especially with a quarterback like Sam Levitt, especially with a system like Charlie Weiss Jr. runs. especially with a running back room like Kevin Smith has. And then you look at that receiving core. It's just one lengthy, speedy, dynamically, athletically brilliant profile after another. Trey Wilson, Eugene Brown. Oh, sorry, Trey Wilson, Trey Brown, Jackson Harris, Roman Mothershed, Malik Elzy, Tyree Holloway, Winnie Watkins, who's probably been the best of the lot throughout spring. There is so many options. Length, strength, speed. It's yards after catch, contested catch with Trey'Dez Green, the matchups with Trey'Dez Green. What you can do in the passing game could be supernatural as well. And we know Sam Levitt can deliver a football. We know he can do that. And then we have two comparable quarterbacks, maybe in the backfield, waiting their turn, or not in the backfield, on the sidelines, I should say, waiting their turn in Houston Longstreet and Landon Clark. And we've seen both those guys just sling the damn thing all over the place, right? They've benefited massively from all these spring reps. But then I think, as far as grasping the offense, learning the game, knowing his role, I think this was maybe the right way for this to happen for Sam Levitt, because Kiffin, told everybody in the press conference that Sam Levitt really was diving into it and obsessing over it and trying to figure out everything about the Kiffin, Weiss, Joe Cox triumvirate offense that, other quarterbacks, when mastered, Trinidad Chambliss, taking his name to another level. There are these guys who've played for Kiffin, quarterbacks, Jackson Dart, Matt Corral, a guy named Matt Leinart, you might remember. When these guys play for Lane Kiffin, a guy like Jalen Hurts, you might remember him. He gets the best out of every one of them. And if you've seen any of Sam Levitt's brilliant film from his time at Arizona State, and even just a tenth of what Sam Levitt can do with Arizona State, just imagine. Close your eyes for a second. All right? Close your eyes with me and just imagine what LSU could be like with Sam Levitt as an absolute dual threat monster. This entire pedal to the metal offense unleashed. He's got all these skill position weapons everywhere, loaded everywhere. Guys, this should be just different. Gals, everybody, this should be just different. And we're a long way from the season, I know. So it's crazy to be making proclamations like we asked in our article recently. Is Lane Kiffin the next Nick Saban? And people, I've gotten a lot of messages from people saying, "Lon, what are you doing? Why'd you write a headline like that? What is that?" And I said, "Just read it. Trust me." And so they did read it and like, okay, I get what you're doing there. Because Kiffin, like Brian Kelly before him too, or Coach O before him especially, all these guys have the opportunity to start the dynasty that Nick Saban, continue the dynasty that Nick Saban started, and that Les Miles continued, but then fumbled. Really, Miles was so close to turning it into an absolute cathedral, a dynasty where I had more titles than Nick Saban. He could say that. He even went to more title games than Nick Saban did at LSU. He went to 2. And whatever you want to say about how that 2011 season ended, that 2011 team was the best team in the country that season, and I'll fight anyone to the death about that. They beat the team that beat them in the title game, in an era where if you got beaten head to head, you've been beaten. We're not going to let you in. That changed for some reason that year. Still, Alabama, LSU were the two best teams in the country. Alabama wins the title, shutting out LSU, not allowing us over the halfway 50-yard line until deep into the fourth quarter. Crazy, embarrassing. But this squad, there's an edge to it. There's a bite to it. There is a not nastiness, but a kind of intensity that is very exciting. As someone who's been covering this for a while, I haven't seen any squad with a killer instinct until last year. You got a few guys. 2023, you had a few guys. You've seen it with a few of these guys. You have Jaden Daniels here, Malik Neighbors there, Jack Besh here. Doing that for that season in 2021 as a freshman. Kayshon Boutte was able to do that in 2020 at the end, and then part of 2021 before he broke his ankle. Ty Davis Price having the only 1,000-yard season in the post 2019 era. All these guys. Jay Ward was great for a while there. Mason Smith until he tore his ACL. There's all these. B.J. Ojolari had a season, but they were just individuals. I see an opportunity for a collective greatness here with these units, with this team, and a coach, a squad, a staff that have been preaching the leadership roles, have also been preaching it, this togetherness and collective unity that wasn't really bought into or even preached at all in the last few years. Kind of more expected, and maybe there were more clicks because of it. Maybe there were more players who were kind of isolated from the show, because that's what a lot of players told me at the time, was that this is not for all that what people think, this is a team that's not really together. Now, the players I talk to now have said that this team this season, especially the players who returned, who came back from last year, they're like, it's incredible. It's like a team with half new guys, half old guys, right? Returning guys. But guys who are complete strangers, you would think, are getting along and already fitting in way more than the guys who came in last year. And Sam Levitt was a major example for that I've been told, because, man, him, Ty Benefield as well, they're hanging out with the Weeks brothers. They're already chilling with all these guys. It's no problem. It's too easy. A lot of these guys have fit in with this Kiffin culture that has been percolated already. And we'll see where this leads. Because this is a championship squad, really, on paper. You look at everything and what could be. You have the right quarterback. You have the right pillars here at tackle, at left tackle. Linebacker, huge, unbelievable talent linebacker. Safety as well. Corner, if you don't have health problems there, if you don't have injuries. You've got talent all over both sides of this ball, especially, just loaded at receiver, loaded at running back, loaded at certain positions where you're just absolutely blessed. But you've got a few positions where there's some concerns, and they are specific. You are loaded, thank God, at the pass rushing spots, because you weren't before. And then again, you did lose Gabe Relaford to injury. And so that is still a big hit. You've got to avoid injuries. This team has got to stay healthy. This team has got to be able to really be at its full dynamic best. But at the same time, they're deeper enough to absorb the blows here of absences. And it's just a very intriguing team to me. Not just because it's the first one under Lane Kiffin. You want to know what's going on. we know what Kiffin is about, and he has instilled that and installed that into his new team, his new squad. And I just say brace yourselves, everybody, because I think there's something powerful coming. I think this is a chance for LSU to really step it up here and get back to the playoff that they've belonged in for the last few years, and have had every chance to get into with a weaker SEC, a more easily beaten SEC, and just fumbled every opportunity. You had to beat a 4-5 Florida team, and you would have been in the playoff a few years ago, and you couldn't do it. Like, just embarrassing. And so 10-2, you're going to be in the playoff, maybe even in the SEC title game. So I think that's what we're talking about with such a heavy schedule where there's so many pitfalls. I think maybe 2 defeats in the regular season makes sense, but I'm not ready to make my full official predictions just yet. Definitely make yours. I want to see yours in the comments. I want to see yours, like who's going to be the MVP and all this stuff. But let's all remember, we have a full summer, avoiding injuries, avoiding trouble with the law, avoiding all that stuff, avoiding world events, and being able to get to the season, get to the end line, have the season, and see all these guys in person and see them kick some ass and take some names. Jamer says, "Hey, Lawner, I had a margarita or two, but I made it here." Jamer, what's up? Jamer, what is up? This is great. Thank you so much for joining us, Jamer. As always, she's the absolute best. Seriously, we love you, Jamer. We love you. We love you. Everybody, we'll be hopefully appearing tonight on the Go Team podcast. I haven't seen if they've posted it, if they're still doing the show tonight, but we were invited on. Hopefully we're still going to be doing that. It's going to be crazy with trying to put the 2 kids to sleep. Chelsea will be while I do the show, but I think we have a plan for that, and we'll be able to figure that out and be able to make at least a half-hour appearance. But everybody will be hoping to do that. And so check that out on the Go Team podcast. And if you didn't, if you checked into the show late, just be kind and rewind. Everybody, have a good rest of your night. Thank you so much for joining with us. I see so many of you checking out and commenting on Instagram as well as Twitter. And I wish we could put all the comments in one place. I wish when you can broadcast to X, you broadcast to YouTube, broadcast all these places. I wish they could all kind of all the comments, Instagram, all of it could go into one area. That would be cool, because there's a lot of cool stuff that people are even commenting and then it disappears. That's what's dumb about some of these apps with that. But everybody, visit and subscribe at LSUOdyssey.com/subscribe. Follow us on X at Lon Phillips, and then our Instagram at LSU Odyssey Lawn, where we're going live at, of course. And also, just like and subscribe to all the shows. Hit the notification bell. Help us out big time with that, and we really thank you guys so much. We're gonna try and just keep upping our game every show and just trying to get better. And we're gonna try and provide the best guests possible coming up here. So buckle up. It's about to get wild, as we always do in the summer with all these guests, where we usually bring in some heavy hitters with the guest department. Buckle up, baby.